Hello out there. We're on the air. Welcome to the new channel titled Underrated. And if you've heard that intro before, you're either Canadian or you've seen my other YouTube channel, which is 88 Sats Radio, which is mostly focused around Bitcoin. But in the last 6 months to a year, I'd say I've kind of made a slight transition towards, I don't even know what you'd call it, wisdom, old wisdom that was kind of around at a time where the world was on a hard money standard. If you think about the books and the YouTube channels and everything we see these days, it's all kind of built on a artificial foundation almost. Ever since 1971, when the US went off the gold standard, we've had a very artificial money, and artificial money creates artificial ideas and wisdom. And so what I want to do is I want to kind of travel back in time here for in the early 1900s and before that, back when the world was on a hard money standard, because they thought much differently than people do today. They saw the world much differently than we do today. And so what this first video is going to be is just a bit of an intro of what's going to be on this channel. So the channel here is titled Underrated. And there's a reason for that. And I'm going to bring up a spreadsheet here because a lot of the shows here and videos that we're going to share on the channel here are going to have spreadsheets on them. So that's what the channel is called, Underrated. And what does that mean? Well, I think when people associate other things to being underrated, that means that they probably aren't getting enough credit for what they're doing. So what we want to do here is we want to strive to be underrated ourselves. This is kind of the purpose of this channel, is to give you ideas, tips, not from me, but from other people, kind of what we were talking about there in the early 1900s, late 1800s, and before that. It was a much different world then. But we want to take those old lessons and wisdom and knowledge and apply it to today. Because as I kind of mentioned there, I have a Bitcoin channel. And so I'm very hopeful and very optimistic that we are going to soon return to a world that's on a hard money standard. And that might come in the form of gold or silver, tokenized for the new world that we live in, or it might be Bitcoin. I'm betting on Bitcoin myself, but either way, the fiat dollar is dying. We're kind of living through the collapse of it right now. So we're going to take lessons from the hard money days and apply to today. That's kind of what we're going to do. And so you're going to see different videos on here. You're going to see some clips from a live stream. You're going to see some videos specific to this channel, but they're all going to be around this idea of being more underrated. We want to strive to be underrated. Because when you think about it, you hear that once in a while, and you might call people underrated. Maybe you've been called underrated yourself. But I don't think people stop and understand what it actually means. And so when you think about what overrated means, that's a very negative term. If somebody called me overrated, I'd be kind of pissed, because that means I'm getting more attention than I've actually earned. I'm getting more credit than actual work that I've done. So you don't want to be overrated. You want to actually be on the other side of that. And there's a Napolean Hill quote here. And it's actually one of the chapters in the book that we're going to be focusing on first. And it's very simple. It's the premise of doing more than paid for. So I want you to burn that in your brain. I'm sure if you're a regular viewer of this channel, it'll be pretty easy for you. But that's kind of the main premise here, is that we want to be doing more than paid for. We want to strive to be underrated. And you'll notice kind of early on here with some of the blunders I've had in clearing my throat is that I don't really do any edits on these videos. I do a live stream every morning, and that's actually where a lot of these videos are going to be recorded. So my plan is I'm going to do about 20 minutes a day in a live stream. I'm going to clip it. I'm going to share it on the Underrated channel. And then once in a while, I'm going to have some filler videos in there about the same length, same ideas, same mission here, which is a focus around becoming more underrated. So doing more than paid for, adding as much value to the world as you possibly can. And eventually that will flow back. And that's one of the lessons that I've learned through this old knowledge, is that you really want to become more valuable, becoming more valuable as a human, and adding as much value as possible. Because eventually it will flow back to you, eventually. So it's more of a long-term focus. In Bitcoin, we call it a low time preference. but it's much different from the world that we're used to and the world that we were educated in. The world that we're educated in never taught us about becoming more valuable. We were taught to memorize things. We were taught to take this course so you could apply for this job. There was no sort of critical thinking or logic taught to us, and especially not this premise of just becoming more valuable and adding as much value as you possibly can, which all ties back to doing more than paid for. So the way that the money works, and it's kind of the focus of all this, even though I'm not going to be talking too much about Bitcoin here, I'm going to assume that we're moving into a hard money world. And that's what we're going to look at things through the lens of. And this wisdom that we're going to be talking about from the 1900s, we're looking at Napoleon Hill, we're looking at Earl Nightingale, we're looking at Henry Ford, we're looking at some later ones like Jim Rohn. But the majority will be kind of the principles that Napoleon Hill talks about. And that's the first book that we're going to be talking about, which is the Law of Success. Yeah, I think it's an 8, maybe even more. Law of Success. But it was written in the 1920s. And at that time, there was a lot less technology. There was a lot less opportunity, but they were still living on a hard money standard. And that's why they spoke so differently than people do today, because of that. And so that's kind of what we are today. We have a very short-term focus. We want to do something today and get paid for it instantly. We want instant credibility. We want dopamine. That's what everybody's chasing right now. That's a very short-term focus that's been created by an artificial money. And so the opposite of that, that's a high time preference, we call it in Bitcoin. Again, I'm not going to have too much information around Bitcoin. If you're interested in it, you can obviously check out the 88 Sats radio channel. You can join our Visionaries community, or you can stop by in the live shows every morning. So the live shows are at 10 a.m. Eastern time, Monday to Friday. And I'm going to have links in the pinned comment here. So again, I'm going to be doing these lessons live every morning. I'm going to clip it. I'm going to share it on this channel. And there's also going to be some, I wouldn't say exclusive, but content that I only put on the underrated channel here to kind of fill the gaps there. And so again, most lessons are going to will be 20 to 25, I should say 15 to 25 minutes. They're all going to be under half an hour, unless, I'm on a roll or something and there might be an anomaly there. But for the most part, they're going to be 15 to 20 minutes long. And kind of why I want to do this is because they are going to be close to or daily videos. And so you can kind of build it into your routine. And the reason why I started doing these on the channel is because I've kind of focused around repetition. I've noticed that the only way you can actually make change in your life and change habits in the way that you do things is by doing it every single day. Not every week, not a couple times every week. So I think that has to be poured into this channel itself as well. And the idea of it is I'm somebody who gets a lot of inspiration and ideas while in the shower, which is going to sound kind of weird, maybe to some people out there who don't know me, but it's true. And so what I want to do with this is I want something like this myself. And so if I want something like this, there's probably a lot more people out there who want something similar that they can throw on for 10 or 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I don't know how long people shower, but just kind of listen to it. And it's not really meant to teach you things. It's meant to open up your mind, spark new ideas, get you thinking differently in the sense of hard money, long-term versus artificial fake money, short-term. So my aim here is not to try to sit up here and preach or, teach you things. Obviously, I want to learn myself, and I'm very interested in this stuff. This is why I'm kind of taking this project on. But it's more than that. It's more so for you to be able to hear this stuff on a very consistent basis and then kind of make your own opinions on it, form your own opinions, spark different ideas, and get you thinking a little bit differently, which I hope will lead to a lot of success and ideas in the future for anybody who's tuning into this channel. So the last thing that I'm going to say here before I wrap things up is there's going to be no sponsors. And that's a promise to you from day one. We're going to have no sponsors on this show. It's going to be me speaking. Again, no edits. So if you don't like that kind of thing, if you need the flash and the pizzazz, This channel probably isn't for you, but we're going to have no sponsors. Just like the 88 Sats radio channel. We've been doing it for about 2 years now, and we still have no sponsors on there. And so we are 100% reliant on community. So there's a couple different ways that if you're enjoying this stuff, if you're getting value from it, that I'm going to give the QR code on the screen if you want to send some value back. So there's the QR code on screen. There is the Visionaries community, which you can join, which would benefit the both of us. Obviously for me and for you being part of the community and having access to all the content and the people in that community. And that's about it. And we'll leave it there. So kind of my original plan with this was to do like a half-hour thing of what we're going to be doing and lay it all out. But I figure it's just better to kind of show you. So I want to keep this short, very concise, and we're going to have the very first video coming tomorrow. So what I'm going to ask here is, let me know if you're a business owner out there. Because I would say that the majority of this information is going to be directed towards business owners. But as you're going to see in the first, let me bring this back up. As you're going to see in the first lesson here, it's actually applicable to most people because again, the idea here is we're striving to become underrated. We want to do more than we're paid for. We want to become more valuable and as much value to the world as possible. And eventually it will flow back to us. We're not in any sort of rush for it, but we know that that's a law of the universe and that's what will happen. So Napoleon Hill says in the very first lesson, wherever you are, whoever you are, and whatever you're working on, this information will be applicable to you. For the most part, though, if you're somebody out there with a business, I would say that you're going to be the number one audience here, the number one target, a demographic, I guess you'd say. But if you are somebody who's working a 9-to-5 and thinking about starting a business, very applicable. If you're somebody who's working a 9-to-5 job and you just want to become more valuable and maybe get a promotion or a different job within the company, this is also going to be directed to you because, again, we want to just do more than we're paid for. And we want to become more valuable, and we will eventually flow that value out into the world and let it come back to us. So that's it. If you're a business owner, and I will probably do some shout outs along the way to people who are in the community here and who have a business. And I just believe that that's a good way to do it without any sort of payment or request for payment or anything. I just want to promote people who are interested in this kind of stuff. So that's it. If you're a business owner, let me know in the comments. And I'll have some other links for you in the pinned comment of my own. So hope you're having a great day today, and we'll talk to you very soon, tomorrow. Bye-bye.